represented by Sakachi?
Yeah, he's here too.
Okay, that's what I thought, Sakachi.
Not his assistant.
Okay. Being represented from that office.
Sakachi.
Did see you. You'll check it out. Walking, just walking. Probably. I usually walk.
Did you stop and look?
I guess that was not gonna show
No,
up.
just took some pictures.
So both then.
He's in the city, right?
Well, both of us would. He's not
Turtles.
Turtles are okay, they can't chase them.
Yeah.
Deer like that. Coyote make them mad. No. All I did was park and I took a lot of.
I've lived there since I've lived on Wicklow Street since I've been 5 years old. I never worked like that.
Peter's not coming. The over under, I believe, is
Right in the
8
middle.
o'clock to 7:32.
Oh, I forgot your gavel. Peter Kowski is going to be absent. I have no
It's okay.
idea
Hey,
about
I
Deborah.
always tell Peter, you think.
You didn't want to just use your hand?
Pretty fragile at 76 years old.
I see Peter with kids, I sit down, he sees me, I sit down, no, they walk.
You just flew in today, Al?
Huh?
You just came in today?
Yeah, I'm going back tomorrow.
Was it rough?
It was a very bouncy flight today.
With that wind.
Yeah.
I think it was the launching, either this was the launching pad, or that was the launching pad that moved.
I had a funny one, Bob. Somebody said to me, you know, they said, if you go Frontier, it's $35. Yeah,
We were just
Yeah,
talking
but
about
they charge for everything but the
Yeah.
tickets and things.
yeah. It ended up that, for that November meeting, a flight on Southwest, as opposed to what I would have been paying on Frontier, Southwest is $40 more. The big difference is that if the meeting in November falls apart, I can bank the Southwest tickets. Frontier, you lose it.
All right, guys, we ready?
that's a big day.
Especially like this, because you know, the meeting gets canceled.
Call the meeting to order. Time 7:04. Meeting of the West Warwick Zoning Board of Review, 1170 Main Street. Oh,
They do the pledge.
oh, pledge of allegiance, yeah. That's what you forgot. All right.
Need the pledge, Rick?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're skipping a break. Anybody want to say a prayer? Okay. Roll call.
Alan Horrick,
Here.
Justin Kutu,
Yeah.
Richard Banks,
Here.
Michael McPhillips,
Yeah.
Peter Kelsey is absent, Deborah Shushman is absent, Richard Banks,
Here.
there's a quorum on record.
Get Justin.
Oh, Robert Messier.
Here. Let the record show that Justin Kuchu and Rick
Rick Bonds.
Banks is going to be sitting in for Peter and Debbie Social. All right. All on record?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the September 27th meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Applicant, John Milton. Number 8, proposed use seeking a dimensional variance to construct a new 26 by 48 single-family dwelling. Zoning ordinance section 5.4, standard dimensional regulations, table required lot frontage and lot width in R8 zone of the zoning ordinance of the town of West Warwick as amended.
Mr. Chairman, if I may put some little bit into the record. First, I have marked as exhibits, number 1, the application, number 2, the radius map, number 3, the abutters list, number 4, a 2-page site plan. Number 5, the building plans. Number 6, the zoning certificate. Number 7, the tax collector report. Number 8, the deed of Beth LaRoche and Adelaide Florence LaRoche. And number 9, the green cards. What I would like to comment was, in my report, I stated to you that there had been a dwelling house on the property in question that burnt down. I have subsequently been given some information, and I don't think that is correct.
Okay.
If I might, just to put this in perspective, so the zoning board is aware of the background to this. I researched the titles to this. It appears that this was a large piece of property. At some point in time, 2 lots were carved out of it up in front. A big lot remained in the back. There was an entrance to that big lot. That is how you ended up with this 40-foot frontage going to a larger lot in the back. I don't know how it occurred at the time. However, that occurred back in at least 1979. It's existed ever since then. And, you know, I just want to give the zoning board the background to how this lot got created.
Was there a zoning ordinance in 1979?
64.
Yes, that means yes.
Yeah, I don't know how things happen.
Okay. You might have been around back then.
No, well, I was around, I just wasn't on the zoning
Oh,
board.
okay.
Been around a lot longer than that.
Okay?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, Joseph Brennan from the Law Office of Joe Shikarchi here on behalf of the applicant, John Mulhern, and the owners, Michael and Lynn LaRoche. What you have in front, first I'd like to thank the solicitor for the great summation of the property, so now I don't have to get into that as well. So he's explained that it's a legal lot of record. What we have here is we have a 26 by 48 single family home that we're looking to build. It'll be a raised ranch. I know that John Mulhern has provided a lot of detail on the plans, which is very helpful to be able to show you exactly what we're looking to do. The reason why we're here in front of the zoning board is because it's a pretty unique piece of property with a pretty unique dimensions attached to it. The zone that we're in is the R8 zone. The required frontage in an R8 zone is 70 feet. As provided on our application, we have 40.15 feet. Additionally, the required lot width is 80 feet. And again, the way that the zoning code is written, we're only providing 40.15, but you can see from the size of the lot that it's a noticeably much larger lot than is necessary in an R8 zone, and from the surrounding neighbors as well. The house is being built within the building envelope of the actual piece of property. So those are really the only variances we need. We won't need any front yard, side yard, rear yard setbacks. It'll be placed 60 feet from the property owned by Carlene, which is right where the entrance is, and then to the north above it, it'll be 40 feet away. So it's a good sizable distance. There are a lot of woods back there. They'll be leaving most of it in place. As you know, it's a very large piece of property. They're not looking to remove that. But what they will be doing is just creating small front yards and side yards for the area that they do have around the house there as well. But leaving most of the woods there for their own aesthetics, and because it's way too expensive to unnecessarily take all of it down. In reviewing the guidelines and the regulations from the West Warwick Zoning Code, the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief here is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure and not the general characteristics of the surrounding area, and is not due to a physical or economic disability of the applicant. I think that's shown if you just look at the odd topography of the layout of the land. You can tell it's a very unique piece of property, and the hardship that we have here for the variance is not the result of any prior action of the applicant and is not primarily to realize greater financial gain. The result of creating this odd lot, the owners have subsequently taken over. They've had the property. It's nothing that they've done or created for themselves. It's been here for quite some time. As the solicitor mentioned, it is a legal lot of record that you have in front of you. And we're not looking to do any other type of variance, such as side yard, front yard. It's really only what's constrained by the property. If we could add frontage to it, we would, but unfortunately we can't. It won't alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan. If anything, I think that this could help the surrounding area and add value to the properties. It really creates a much bigger lot than what's around it, so we're not constraining it to a smaller one then that might contain extra constraints otherwise. It is the least relief necessary. As I mentioned, they're not looking for any other variances or anything, but only what's forced upon them from the legal lot of record. If we could get more frontage and width, we would. And if not granted, the hardship will result in more than a mere inconvenience, because if not granted, there really is no other use for this property. There's no commercial use for it. Residential is really the least intensive use you can ever do for any individual property. It is a single family home. They're not looking to put multiple houses or anything, although it's a very large acreage. They just want one single family home. I do have John Mulhern here, the applicant, who can answer any specific questions the board may have in regards to the application and the plans themselves. We did meet with some abutters previously to coming up here. Some of their concerns were safety along a long driveway that we'd be creating. So we will work with them to put some type of fencing up along the back half of our driveway to prevent that. And someone else had mentioned they were a little worried about water runoff. And I explained to them, and John did his plan as well, and how the town engineer won't allow any, it has to be zero net runoff as part of the code. So if any abutters or anyone has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Mr. Chairman, if I might make one further comment on what the attorney has stated. This afternoon I met with the town planner. The discussion came up about the fact that they have submitted plans for a building on the property. In view of the fact that they are not seeking relief from the amount of use, they're not seeking the amount of use of an area, they're just seeking setbacks. The zoning board in effect does not have, what they've shown you, if they want to change it somehow or other, as long as they don't use up more area than they're allowed, they can change it. That's a question for the building office. And I just wanted to let you know that the town planner raised that issue with me. He said, you know, they've submitted plans to the zoning board. He said, supposing they want to put a deck on or something and change those plans, do they have to go back to zoning? The answer to that is no. If they were coming in and seeking relief for the percentage of area they were using, and you granted it, then yes, because they would be changing that. They're not seeking relief from the percentage. So what they put on the property at this point in time is not before the zoning board. It's before the building official. If they go to the building official and they haven't overstepped their bounds, it's his problem. If they increase it to a state where they're using up too much space, then they gotta come back. But I just wanted to make it clear to the zoning board that as of this evening, your question is not what is the structure gonna look like. Your question is, do you want to allow a house that has minimum frontage?
Just one follow-up question to that, Al. Can we stipulate that it just has to be a single-family home? That there can't be multifamily or
That's in the zoning code.
Okay.
If they wanted a multifamily,
Right, not in that area.
they can't have it.
Okay.
When they go to the building official, he's going to say no, and then they got to come back to you.
Okay.
The building official cannot grant them a permit for a two-family.
What would the square footage of the house be? That might be you, you might know that one.
Yeah.
So the,
Excuse me,
Just-
could you state your name and address, please?
John Mulhern, 55 Indian Hill Road, Warwick, Rhode Island.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
The
So,
house itself,
the house itself
yes,
will be two-story raised
right,
ranch,
yep, gotcha.
and it'll be about 1,200 square feet up and about 400 square feet down.
How about the side yard? What's the side
There's, are you talking about,
footage from the house to the barn, to the line?
there's, we tried to sit the house in such a manner that, for everybody's benefit, the neighbors as well as mine and whoever will buy here. It's 60 feet off of,
Field Street,
no, it's about 240 feet off of Wakefield
okay,
Street.
yep.
That's bad.
Wow, yeah, it's really set back.
That's a whole lot. I'm talking about the side of the
The
house.
side, it's 40 feet at its closest point to one neighbor, and it's 60 feet to its front neighbor, and it's 95.5 to its rear.
Would that be the blue house? Is that the blue house system?
No, the blue house out front
Yep,
will be maybe at least 150, 60 feet away,
okay, from house to house.
from house to house.
Okay, gotcha, okay.
If you're asking where this house will be situated in relativity
How
to
long's the
that house.
driveway, I mean, I'm not too great at reading this,
Yeah.
how long's the driveway gonna be?
The driveway will be about 175 feet.
No kidding.
95 off
Okay.
the setback.
Well, there's a little dip over there, man, it's kind of, it's a little dippy over there. It might be a little,
This is the driveway.
you know, it's about,
Yeah.
it does have a little dip when you go
Right
over
up
40
right up
feet.
front, about 20 feet in, dips down, but yes. more than that.
Was that where the driveway looking to put it?
Well,
In that general area?
well, the frontage is only 40.15 feet, so I'll just put there's an existing little driveway there now, it would just make sense to continue that right down into the rear of the lot.
Well, that's a pretty long driveway. What protection are you gonna leave for the neighbors?
Well,
I mean,
we,
that's almost a road, 160, what was it, 163?
we were able to meet with one of the abutters today who was here, and we had mentioned that we're going to work with them to put up some type of fencing along like the back, what they believe to be about 75 feet that they were concerned about. And if the neighbor on the other side has the same issues, we can also meet with them and figure it out also. We're here to work with everyone. We're not here to
Yeah, but when you leave here,
Mhm.
it's nothing set in stone unless we put a stipulation on that, that
That's
You
the
know.
stipulation we can do?
yeah.
fence has to go up.
There's a stockade, not stockade, there's a corral fence for a portion of that blue house that you're referring to.
Yep.
They have a fence along that lot line.
Is that on their property or the property got you?
I think it's right on the lot line, so I don't I
Yeah, you
don't
need
know.
a surveyor.
I think it's, no, I had a surveyor,
Oh,
so
okay.
it's right, so part of it just runs right down the lot line, but I think they put that fence up. It didn't, it's not real fence. Well, some of it's,
Yeah, there is definitely
Yeah.
part of a little fence.
yeah, I
there.
saw it.
Well,
So-
somebody has to maintain it, whether it's you or it's a neighbor.
Well,
house.
is that the neighbor's fence?
Yeah.
Yes, so that's the neighbor's fence, so they'll be maintaining it. I certainly wouldn't be maintaining the neighbor's fence. But, what I heard someone ask before is it's just going to be a single family. It's not gonna be a multifamily. It's gonna be one family house, 3-bedroom home.
Not gonna be rented?
Fence.
Well, I'm going to build it and sell it. I'm not keeping it. So, right now, someone will buy it and I don't know if they'll move in or they won't. Like, apparently the two abutting property owners
They
are
rent
rental.
it, yeah.
But I'm trying to, like I build any other raised ranch, and just sell it to usually a family, you know,
Who
so
owns the property now? Or is it,
Mr. and Mrs. LaRoche.
How wide is the driveway gonna be?
Maybe 14 feet.
Okay. And situated in the middle of this, I guess for lack of a better phrase, a right of way. And that entire right of way is 40 feet wide.
That I just to clarify, just because there's legal ramifications when you say right of way, it's
Well,
the
that's-
property
that's-
line it's part of their lot, but yes, it's
Right.
40 feet their lot. Yes.
Okay, so it's 40 feet from the road all the way back to where the lot expands out.
Correct.
Yes.
14 feet wide. Where I'm going with this, I'm just wondering if there are any side setbacks required for that driveway.
There's no requirements for setbacks on driveways, only structures.
And there's no way you would build a smaller house to fit the lot? Would you, for instance, a cape, would you consider building a cape instead of this?
I really don't want to build a cape, sir.
Well, it's not what you want, it's what the law says. I mean, you're asking for frontage. And I don't know if we want to give you that frontage. So maybe just tone it out, build a smaller home, and it would fit that lot perfect.
So the lot, not to be argumentative, but the lot is over 1 acre in size. And so, you know, I'm just looking to build a raised ranch up to 48 feet long. And it's, you know, I saw one today being built right around the corner on a side street, same house, smaller lot. I'm, you know, we more than meet the setbacks.
Mr. Chairman, on that, no matter what size home they build on that lot, the frontage, it's because of the unique configuration of that lot, no matter what size home is put back there, it's not going to affect the frontage that they've got the problem with, because basically they've got, you're looking at a lot, this lot back here for the home. Well, the problem is that because these two lots were sold off, this crazy entranceway, so no matter what size house is put in there, as long as it doesn't affect the setbacks, it's not going to change their need for relief on the frontage. As long as it's a single-family house, it could be a monster because of the setbacks, but it won't affect their frontage.
So there's no alternative, there's no alternative to get into this property other than this driveway going between these two houses.
That's, and the problem the board is faced with is that whether that was legally created or not,
It's there now.
it's been there since 1978. It's been taxed that way since 1978. It's been sold 3 times since 1978.
Yeah, but I mean,
Just hasn't been built on yet.
Just hasn't been
that's
touched.
something we inherit, is these problems from years ago.
That's right.
But, you know, it still doesn't solve the fact that, you know, he's taking a house and
No,
putting
I understand that, but
140-foot driveway in there. It's 163 feet. And,
but that
that's,
is the configuration a lot, and
yeah.
there's realistic.
I agree this is something we have inherited, but, I mean, it's either that or nothing happens with it.
Go wait
Yeah.
for any
Right.
decision.
Yeah, it stays a vacant lot.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to put some stipulations in there to protect the neighbors and
Yeah.
any children and, you know,
The board has the right to require buffer zones,
buffer, you know.
or hedge or fence or whatever.
Well, the question is, if that's a buffer zone, they can't do anything with it, right? They couldn't build on it or anything? If it
There's no way
becomes a
they can,
buffer?
there's no way they can build along that driveway anyway.
Right.
Well, I've seen stranger things
Yeah,
happen.
but in that area, they would have to, if they attempted to put any type of a structure in, I'll refer to it just as a driveway, the entranceway, whatever you wanna call it,
Blocked.
they'd have to come back to the board. That area that runs from Wakefield Street, 40 feet back to the large pot, they can't put anything in there without getting relief from this board. And I would have to advise the board that because of the size of that lot, I think it would be far beyond the board's jurisdiction to grant anything in that lot other than a driveway. It's a 40-foot lot. I think it's far beyond the jurisdiction of the board to allow any type of construction in that area, other than a driveway and a fence, a fence or hedging.
Mr. Chairman, could I address the board? Yeah, I don't have a desire to do anything other than the driveway and that.
He's referring to the building, but we, as I said, we're open to a fence. We even met with the abutters outside, and I know that Mr. Chairman had said that you may put a stipulation. Either way, it doesn't change our plan, whether you put the stipulation or not, because we plan to meet with the neighbors, and we plan to make them happy on whatever they need along what they've described as I would not hold them to the exact footage, but about a 75-foot fence along, that would follow the driveway line on their lot line. We're open to that. We have no issue.
What would the height be? Would it be a closed fence?
They've already discussed that they want something that children
Well, they
can't
discussed
easily
it.
jump
You keep
over,
saying that
so.
They discussed it, but we don't know what.
You can
When
send
I
it
say,
on.
when I say that, I will also clarify more with further description, but I only do it to try to ease the board and Mr. Chairman's mind when I say we've discussed it.
You
but
have the
we-
right to set it.
Pardon?
You have the right to set up to 6 feet.
But when we talked to them, they discussed something children can't easily jump over, so that would probably be something along the lines of 6 feet.
Because there are children there,
Yeah.
right, on both sides.
One house is
vacant.
vacant. The other one has, I think they described 3 to 4-year-old. I could be off, but it's somewhere along the lines of a 5-year-old.
It's the blue house vacant.
The blue house is vacant?
Blue house-
Yes.
The other house on the left hand, in the driveway on the left hand side, it's somebody's living.
Yes.
Do you know why it's vacant?
I have no
No.
idea.
I rent, I have no idea.
It's a rented house, but I don't know why. I don't know anything about it.
I had another question, and I guess this is for the counselor, our counselor. But whom are we granting this relief to?
The applicant is, yeah, the owner, in any situation, the relief goes to Michael and Lynn LaRoche.
Okay.
And
Now, and my understanding is that they're looking to sell this property.
Yeah.
What happens to this relief once the property's sold? It doesn't transfer, does it?
Oh, yeah, it runs with the land. It's there forever. Whatever you decide tonight runs with that land, no matter what happens to it.
Okay.
If for some reason, and I have no idea what the sales agreement was, but if for some reason, Mr. Mulhern did not buy the property, the LaRoches are stuck with whatever you decide tonight. That, a decision of the zoning board, the legal term is pertinent to the land. It's there forever.
Okay.
So if you say, we'll grant you the relief, but you have to put a 6-foot fence, the 110 feet, or the Roaches, if the sale doesn't go through, they got relief, but they gotta put a 6-foot fence up.
Okay.
And does that follow the new owner, the
That
6-foot
follows-
fence?
And it follows the owner after that.
And the owner have to, even to
It's-
maintain it and
It's
everything else.
it's on the land. Well, once the fence goes up, then it's up, we have an ordinance regarding the maintenance of fences. And that goes up to the building office.
If you're standing in what would be considered the driveway on the left-hand side, right, the tree line go down there? It's tree
Yes.
line, right?
So the intention is, Mr. Chairman.
So the house on the left is barely sealed, right?
That's correct.
Okay, if you're viewing the parcel, because it's tree lined.
That's correct. But what I did agree to out front with the neighbor that we're referring to, well, Carlene, is to go out there and look at if there's where a gap is. And I
Okay.
guess, sure.
Is Colleen on the left-hand side?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a lot of woods over there.
There is a lot of
trees.
wood. Oh,
A lot of
yeah.
trees on that side.
Absolutely.
For the board's information. If Colleen is present, the board can ask her to come up and find out what she'd like and help you in your decision if you want.
How about the water? I'm a little concerned with the water back there. It's a little marshy back there. It's a little wet. The ground is wet. Is that coming under wetlands? Have wetlands been notified on that?
The building application that I filled out did not request me to have it flagged, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
When you apply for a building permit, typically you're not doing it. If I were doing a subdivision, I'd have to do that. But
Okay, so what happens to the water?
well,
The town engineer requires zero net runoff, so the water would stand as
I
it
know
is
that-
today.
But it's gotta go someplace. It's
top-
wet now.
He would have to provide engineering plans to show that the water goes nowhere, have them approved by the town engineer. But just in furtherance of his idea, he does plan to have dry wells and other things of that nature below the gutters and around the house that would be able to catch the water in basins.
For the board's knowledge, I have discussed that with the town planner, and he will be looking to ensure that.
Anyone else? Any other questions? That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any remonstrance?
Good evening.
Could you state your name and address?
Angelo Padula Jr., 554 Wakefield Street.
And you are here as a resident?
I am here as a resident, not as a councilman.
Raise your right hand. So I tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. Usually I'm on that side out. I spoke to Mr. Mulhern and his attorney. That property that you're talking about on the left, that's my sister Colleen. That's been in our family for over 100 years. It was my grandmother's homestead. Just recently, she decided to rent it. So we just did the whole thing, and she's renting it to a nurse that has 4 children. So our concern is, we have shrubbery at the beginning of the lot from Wakefield Street that you've seen where that hill goes down, it stops there.
But it goes all the way down, doesn't it?
No, it stops, but our property goes all the way down abutting Mr. LaRoche's property, and we all played on that when we were kids. We went ice skating over there. Our concern is, we want the privacy of a fence, because kids are not used to, that's a big yard, and the kids are not used to it. They're in their backyard. The front yard, forget it, that's 95. So when we were kids, we played in the backyard. Now they have to worry about cars going by the backyard, and kids don't know any better. They're gonna run, whether it's on, so for his own protection and our protection, we want it fenced in where they can't encroach on his property and they can't come on our property.
Both
So-
sides. Both
Well,
sides.
the other side, the tenant just moved out, but that is a rental. It was the old homestead of the LaRoches. So obviously they're renting it again, and who knows if they have kids, but that's not my concern on that side. My concern is our property on the left. So, I mean, that's their concern if they want to come and complain about it, but as long as we're protected, like I said, I'm not here for my constituents, I'm not here as a councilman tonight, I'm here as a vested interest in that property.
So you're saying 40 feet down is not 40 feet?
It's probably, where the trees are, it's probably a good 40 feet from Wakefield Street. But it's probably another, at least 75 feet that's not,
Where you can just kind of run free?
it just runs free, right, from our property to the LaRoche's property.
If I might comment to the zoning board, thinking of trying to put a decision together, I think the problem the zoning board would be faced with if they were to take into consideration the 40 feet that Angela's referring to and say from there back, I think the easiest way for the zoning board to handle it would be to place the obligation in your application that from Wakefield Street back to the end of the entranceway must be fenced off you know, with whatever the zoning board
Both sides.
says. Because I
Both
think
sides,
if that, if you, the zoning board could run into a situation where if they say beginning at the end of the fence and Angela's family no longer owns it and the fence disappears, now you've got that gap. Whereas if the zoning board puts an obligation for it to be fenced from Wakefield Street back, as long as Angela's family has the fence there, it complies. If the fence disappears, the then owner has to fill the gap. I'm saying that just thinking of how I would draft an order to put on the record that 4 years from now, when Angela's family no longer owns it and the fence is gone, now we got the situation of there's a gap. It doesn't necessarily mean that Mr. Mullen has to put the fence up. It's just that it must be fenced back there. If the fence is there, it satisfies it. If the fence comes down, then it is the landowner's. Did I, you know, I'm not sure I made it clear.
And like I said, we have no objection with building a home. I mean, they own the property, everybody has the right to develop their property. They pay taxes on it, and even when I was on the planning board, I was a stickler. You own the property, you should be able to develop it. But I'm just concerned about that, and that's all I have to say.
Are you in agreement with what I'm saying about your fence as it,
Yeah,
if it disappears? Yeah.
that's fine by me. But, thank you.
Anyone else?
I just had a comment too in regards to.
It was fun swearing you in.
In regards to that fence, I would suggest that we say maybe it starts 10 feet back from
Yeah.
Wakefield Street,
I was
just
just
to
gonna say
allow
that.
sight lines
I would just
for traffic to
check
be able to
these.
see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could you
Hi.
state your name and address, please?
My name's Mary Murphy, 57 Wakefield Street.
Would you raise your right hand? Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. I have no objection to the property being developed. People have a right to develop their property. People have a right to sell their property. I did have some concern about water runoff. I spoke to Mr. Mulhern about it. He explained to me that there should be zero runoff because he's required to provide dry wells for his roof and whatever water runs off his siding. I did feel, after living there for 15 years, that it's a little mushy back there, and I thought maybe if he built back there that maybe he might have to make a little drive for that raised ranch with the first level goes down a little, doesn't it?
I'm not sure that I could repeat that, please.
Is the floor of the first level below ground floor?
No.
Is it
below
even?
grade. It's a slab
It
on
is
grade.
below,
No,
slab?
It's, may I address the board?
Yes.
Okay, so if this is the existing grade,
Mhm.
okay, then you start here and you go up. It's just 2 stories.
Okay, so what would you do to ensure that stays dry so those people don't have a
You're
wet floor?
You're above grade.
It's wet.
I would politely disagree with that, but the point remains that the slab, you'll step out from the family room level, down a step to get into your backyard. If you, like going from here down
From
here.
the back of the house out, do you mean?
Yes,
So from the front of the house?
from the front of the house, it would just look like a 2-story dwelling.
Is the step below grade, or is it level, or is it
No,
above?
You're level,
It's
and
level.
the whole house will be on one level. It's not, the raised ranch isn't sunk 4 feet into the ground.
I understand what you're
Traditional
saying.
raised
So
ranch.
my concern was to keep the floor of that level dry. What would happen to it, and if anything happened to it, to fill it? And I don't know that it would, and he assures me that it's not. I'm worried about the water running down the hill because there was a house built not that long ago around the bend. It's not when the house was built, but slowly over the years as the lot was filled, at one point my house, which is next to that blue house that's vacant, and that blue house had a lake in the backyard. As the yard was filled further, the water went elsewhere, I assume into the middle of your lot again. So I just don't want to have a pond back there. I have small grandchildren. I just put in some swings for them, and I don't want them to have to go swimming in the backyard to play out there in the springtime. So I'm just worried about water for that reason.
That
The
would
other-
have to be addressed with the town when he goes for his permits.
My other issue was a small one. Because I have grandchildren that are very small and they're out there daily because we babysit, was wondering if you would consider putting a fence. My boundary is a stone wall. I was wondering if you consider put a fence against it. Into the future, I don't know who will be back there, and my yard abuts the tree lot, but if should become a swimming pool, or there's an animal back there, or maybe there's something really enticing to the kids, if there was a fence back there, I would feel great about that. I hate to see the trees go, but I know that you have a right to take them down, or the new owner does, so maybe a fence.
May I address so, we spoke about this earlier. I'm at least 150, 60, 70 feet from where we're proposing this house to where she is. I'm not going anywhere near her property line. I'm not taking any trees down over there. I'm not altering the topography. Where the water goes right now is where it's going to continue to go.
My house is downhill from that. Water goes downhill, right?
But it's going there now. So whatever's on the land now, so just members of the board, I don't want to build a house where people are going to be, I'm not going to have that problem where they're having water in their house, first of all, okay? It's not, I've done subdivisions, and certainly we're cognizant of water issues. Nobody wants them, and I don't want to have that issue going forward. With regard to where she's situated versus where I'm situated, I'm not disturbing anything over there. I'm not disturbing anything within like 160 feet of there.
Ma'am, are you
Yes.
to the right of the blue house?
Yes, the yellow house to the right of the blue house. So where I have total privacy now and I have a wooded lot that's not mine, someday there'll be a house there and that will be their side yard. And long after Ms. Mulhern's gone, now I'll have a new neighbor and no fence. So I'm asking him today if he'll put a fence in.
Are you flooding now? Are you having problems?
No, because as the lot was filled more, the water went away. It's the strangest thing, but I know that during development, water can appear.
So if it's redirected away from that side of it, you'll be fine?
Yeah, sure, if it was directed into the center of the lot, or maybe if there was a dry well put, I don't know where, it depends on what happens with the
Whatever
development of the house. He seems to feel there will be no problem.
The building inspector can take care of that.
My dad was a builder, so,
Can I just address that again? So, once again, the water right now is going in a certain direction.
Should you use them?
Excuse me.
right, absolutely.
The water right now is traveling in a certain direction. That's the natural topography of the land. I'm not going to alter that. I'm going to capture the water from the new dwelling, and that'll go into dry wells. That's what you're required to do. I would not, and I don't want to for a number of reasons, start changing the topography, because that's when you start changing the direction of water. She's not having water issues now. She's anticipating having water issues that she may never have. I don't want to change the topography and then have water issues. There's no reason to change the topography, and I'm not cutting anything down anywhere near her. That's typically where you get a change in runoff. We're not disturbing that. There'll be a front yard and a backyard like any other home, and a side yard, but it's not going to be anywhere near. I'm sorry, what's your last name? Mrs. Murphy. I'm not disturbing anything over there. So.
The dry wells, because it's for my own benefit, how big?
I don't know what I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what the town engineer's requirements are for that, but they're in any municipality. When you do a subdivision or build a new house today, it's required that you have zero net runoff.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it is. So I have to show that to get the building permit. You have to show where the dry wells are going to be.
That's set by the building code.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't know that much about that, obviously, but doesn't anyone have to address the impacts of building this water-wise?
But that's what,
When he applies for the building permit,
Mm-hmm,
there is a state building code.
Yes.
The state building code governs that. What he does by way of building has to meet the state building code.
So all of you are telling me no water will run downhill, that I have to
Well-
be concerned about? And the dry wells he's referring to is runoff from his roof, not from the
Yeah.
construction of the house itself. Small dry wells?
I'm not, it's whatever the town requires.
Dry wells big enough to hold the rain off the roof is what he's talking about. That's not what I'm talking about.
But that decision isn't made
That's-
by us, that decision is made by the code, the building code.
Because other than
Yeah.
that, you wouldn't get a permit.
He is not allowed to have any more water leave his property tomorrow than left it
Yeah,
today.
the zero net runoff, so that's gonna be addressed after this portion of it.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's addressed by the building people, the officials.
I understand.
So if we
Not-
allow
this
them
board doesn't have a say
the
in
variance
that.
on the
I
frontage,
understand.
then they still have extra steps that they need to take after this.
So moving forward from today, whatever way it's left today is the way it will stand into the future. How about the development of the side yard behind my house? Now it has no frontage because the driveway is for that house. Could this person build a giant addition and
No.
extend it behind my house?
Not without coming
Not
before,
without we come
before us.
And there's a pond back there, so.
Yeah.
They would
There's
have to
a
come
pond,
before us
he's
if
gotta
they're
get
gonna build anything else.
If there was another home, another addition to this home, it would all have to come before us.
Does it go before us here, or
Yeah.
does it go before the
It
state?
depends on what he's doing. If you're gonna put up another home, he can't. That's just, he can't put another home on it. Not even the zoning board could allow that. If he wanted to allow it, it would start with the building official. And
Okay, well, maybe I'm not within my rights, but I'm requesting a fence because I have small grandchildren out there daily. We babysit 5 days a week, and they're very small, they're toddlers. And they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Well,
Have
I
you,
mean,
have you met with her before? You said you met
Just today.
just this evening? Yeah.
and do you have a fence in your backyard to
I have
contain your
side
grandchildren?
side fences, but I don't have one in the back. There's nothing back there that interests them now. It's just empty. But I don't know if there will be something back there someday that will interest them. He said
Right.
maybe they would put a pool in or something, so then I'm
Well,
worried.
You certainly have the opportunity to put up a fence in your own yard too, right?
I have a stone wall there. I'd have to put it in front of my own stone wall.
Okay.
I've had it surveyed already.
Right.
The
But there's
stone wall
nothing
is-
stopping you from putting in a fence.
No,
Okay.
but would I have to fence it if somebody else put a pool in?
I'm just making a suggestion.
I mean, that is the person's side yard into the future, so. I'm looking at it, it's not gonna be a wooded lot, it's someone's side yard.
Yeah, but we can't predict the future, and we can't rule on the future.
Hmm,
I mean, there's a lot of vacant lots in the town of West Warwick that we don't know what's gonna happen to them. When that time comes,
this is
God
this
told me,
person's
he said
side
they have
yard,
to-
right? It's not a vacant yard, is this part of their property?
It's part of their property, but it's not being disturbed at all, correct, sir?
It's not being cleared.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
anyone else? No? Well, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a
motion that we close the.
a second.
I have a motion, a second, to close the public meeting. Discussion.
Based on the testimony and the evidence we've heard this evening, as well as the particular characteristics of this lot, and looking at the requirements for a dimensional variance, I believe that the applicant has met all the requirements for the dimensional variance, and I do plan to vote in favor of this application.
I think we should put a stipulation for the fence. I agree with
I
what
agree with
Alan
that.
says.
I
Okay,
agree.
we Should put a stipulation for fence on the left-hand side.
On both sides.
Now,
Somebody else got anything to say?
yep, any other comments? Well,
I don't,
Was yours
Well-
just let me see, where's north?
Right here.
Right, that would be just on the west, the northerly side?
yeah, whatever the left-hand side is, right? North, south, east, and west.
The driveway abutting lot 137, Carly.
a 6-foot fence along the westerly boundary of the entranceway.
Do we have to
Or the
stipulate-
northerly
do we have to
boundary.
stipulate the distance too? No? Do we have to stipulate the amount of distance?
I'll figure it out from the
Thank you.
plan.
So we're just saying one side.
Anybody wants to go for the second side? That's up for debate.
Was it also stated about the setback of the fence off, you had stated out 10 feet or 15 feet? That way it's not right up against the road?
Right.
Yes, 10 feet back from Wakefield
Yeah, 10 feet
Street.
Yeah.
back from Wakefield.
Yeah, for line of sight and coming,
Yeah.
pulling out of the driveway.
Commencing 10 feet, commencing 10 feet east of Wakefield Street to the, whatever the distance is.
Okay. But other than that, I think they've met the burden. I mean, it's kind of a very odd shaped lot.
Absolutely.
They're trying to do
Yeah.
the best they can within the boundaries at the way.
I mean, there's no other option for really accessing this property.
Other than that, it
Other
would stay
than this.
vacant.
It would just stay vacant. Yes.
I'd have to agree basically with what my fellow board members have said. I mean, it's a very unique property. I mean, without the fact of being able to do something like this, you basically would have no other option but to leave it a vacant lot. I feel like it's a very good proposal, and I'll be voting in favor.
I agree with everything that was said here, specifically with the fence. This is a unique property. There's really no other avenue that we could go down and let someone develop it, so I'll be voting yes as well.
So, guess it's up to me, huh?
You're last. You're last. You don't have
Yeah.
to comment. You can go with the roll call if you want.
I approve the application with the board, with stipulation that the fence goes up, and I'm gonna throw in there 0 runoff, and,
That's by statute.
Has to be.
Has to be.
That's by
It's there
statute.
anyway.
that's, yeah, but it's,
Yeah.
but I can still stipulate, can I?
yeah.
No? Okay, that's it. Vote to move the application forward? Motion?
Yeah. All right.
Second.
Second.
Want to make the
Go
motion?
ahead.
Dimensional variance, the applicant John Mulhern, owners Michael and Lynn LaRoche, Wakefield Street, plat 9, lot 180, in the zone R8. The applicant seeks a dimensional variance to construct a new 26 by 48 single-family dwelling unit.
Approve as discussed.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve as discussed, including stipulations.
Second.
Alan Horrick,
Yes.
Michael McPhillips,
Yes.
Justin Kuchu,
Yes.
Richard Banks,
Yes.
and Robert Messier.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion, petition granted.
Thank you, members of the board.